The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 30th day of September 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with you in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. It's the last day of September, the final day of quarter three, the third quarter. We are entering the final quarter of 2024. That means this year has flown by. Yeah, it's almost over. I mean, if there's one thing that we can be assured of in 2024, is that the first person we remembered hearing from, Cat Williams, didn't tell a lie to us. That man started something in 2024. And it ain't slowed down. Yeah, this is the year of Cat Williams right here, folks. So we've got a quarter to go. Let's hope that all of the drama that Cat Williams was talking about is done, over, and we're going to end this year on a high. But yeah, good morning to you, Karen Simmons. She says, good morning, TDH. Have a marvelous Monday, everyone. Suzanne Ingham says, awesome Monday, 30th September 2024. Jamel and Maya, and an awesome Monday to you as well. And on that note, greetings, everyone. And thanks for making us a part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Lieutenant Cire Bean on, an independent candidate for Constituency 36. And this week, we are scheduled to have all of the candidates for Constituency 36 on the show this week, so that you can engage with them directly, starting with the independent candidate, as I just mentioned, Lieutenant Cire Bean. So looking forward to a good conversation with him. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to jump right into it. Suzanne Ingham says hurricane season is closing out soon too. Well, that's a long time away in hurricane. I mean, especially since Bermuda has a tendency of getting hit in October. November 30th, we've got a whole 2 months until the end of hurricane season. Charles H. Jefferson II says Time Magazine needs to just go ahead and make it Cat Person of the Year. Yeah, Cat Williams done started something, folks. But look, we might have our own Person of the Year in Bermuda. You all saw the news. Well, if you didn't, I'm going to tell you about it, and Maya's going to tell you about it as well. But check it out. You know, earlier this month, we celebrated 1,000 episodes. And the day after that, we had the Honorable former Finance Minister, Curtis Dickinson, on. And it was a very engaging and refreshing conversation. But since Mr. Dickinson resigned as the Minister of Finance, I think people have been expecting him to, one, challenge for the leadership, which he did. Two, resign from the party and either go as independent or leave, cross the floor. Or three, speak up more against what he doesn't agree with so the public knows. Well, if you followed the news, the Honorable former Finance Minister did just that on Friday as he spoke out against the pension proposal by the government. So I'm going to read from the Royal Gazette, and Maya will have more in her news break, but former finance minister, according to the Royal Gazette, broke ranks with the Progressive Labour Party yesterday in the House of Assembly after the opposition panned proposals that would allow first-time buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home. Curtis Dickinson spoke against the National Pension Scheme Occupational Pensions Amendment Act 2024, saying the homeowner regulations it allowed for should not be permitted. He also voted against the legislation when the House went into committee after a 3-hour debate, but it was approved over objections. Mr. Dickinson told the House that he unequivocally took the view that we can ill afford to be engaging in policy decisions that are designed to allow individuals to reduce their pension balances before their retirement age. Instead, we should be doing more to strongly encourage them to contribute more. The comments, which sparked a lengthy debate, came after Jerian Richardson, the leader of the opposition, called the pension proposals void of all worth. He told MPs that the One Bermuda Alliance cannot support the idea of raiding pension funds. The regulations were tabled last week by Judge Adams, the junior minister of finance, who opened the debate by saying the proposal struck a balance between supporting home ownership and protecting retirement security. All right. This is a tough one, folks. And I think that if we're going to have this conversation, we have to put politics aside. We have to put politics aside. All right? So let's have the conversation. So the question of the morning is, what are your thoughts on former finance minister Dickinson going against his party? What are your thoughts on former finance minister Dickinson going against his party? But the yes or no question is very simple. Do you agree with government allowing first-time buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with the government allowing first-time buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home? Just a yes or no question. Do you agree with the government making that move? Do you agree with government allowing first-time buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home? Yes or no? Yes or no? This is an interesting one because, again, I think Curtis Dickinson is doing what people have wanted him to do for ages. And that's just take a stance publicly against the PLP if you disagree with him. All right. But again, yes or no question. Do you agree with government allowing first-time buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home? And the larger question is, what are your thoughts on former finance minister Dickinson going against his party on this issue? All right. So Suzanne Ingham says no. She says no, she does not agree with government allowing first-time buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home. Michelle White says no. Karen Simmons says no. Shamari Sky says yes. Charles H. Jeffers II says no. David Michael Wilson says absolutely not. Sean Smith says no. Gina Ann Richardson says no. Renee Simmons says, why now? Is this electioneering? No. It's, in my opinion, it definitely is electioneering. In my opinion, it's definitely electioneering. Why now is a very important question. Now, if you don't mind, audience, why are you on the side of no or yes? We only had one yes, but I'm interested to know why are you on either side? Why do you agree or why don't you agree with government allowing people to dip into their pensions for first-time home buyer? See, I have my, you all know how I feel about home ownership. It's been a couple years since I've shared it with you, but not everyone is meant to be a homeowner. The amount of people, especially young people, where I've seen home ownership's overrated, especially in the US, I speak to people and they're like, okay, you buy the house, now you got to pay for this, pay for that. It's very different in Bermuda, as I've said before. There are not like apartment complexes or buildings like there are in the US. In Bermuda, you're usually renting from a person who owns the home rather than a rental company. So it's very different. Bermuda, apartments are scarce. If you don't come from a family who owns, a drama-free family that owns land and units, it might be tough to have your own, space, right? It might be extremely tough. But I don't know because, I've sat on this show before. We had our friends from Friesenbrook on recently talking about pensions. And I believe in pension. And although my mom, that was one of the things she stressed to me about pensions, and she didn't live long enough to enjoy her pension. She also didn't live in a space where, had she lived to enjoy her pension, she would have struggled. I take pension very seriously. And if I don't live long enough to experience my pension, at least I know those coming behind me will have some finances to help them where they're at or wherever they're at in life. I think we've been sold the American dream, which in my opinion is the American nightmare. The American nightmare is to go to school, get a degree. And what happens when most people go to school, get a degree? It's been a political football in the United States with Joe Biden, the president of the United States, and his administration trying to erase the debt for students. The American dream is a debt. Capitalism is built on keeping people in debt. The idea, it's almost, no disrespect to Christians, but the promise of heaven is not really guaranteed because we're doing it based on faith, not reality or actuality. So with a pension, you're doing it with hope that you live to that time. However, if you do, at least you can know that you'll have the finances when they're there. I know I'm talking in circles because this is a hard one. I don't know which side I sit on. Lately, I've been taking these neutral positions, which I know you all don't like, but I have to be honest with myself. I have to be. You have people working in exempt companies that can probably easily afford a home more than people who work blue-collar jobs. We have to understand that not everyone is going to be able to own a home. That's the reality. All right, back to you, audience. What are your thoughts? What do you agree with government allowing first-time home buyers to free up part of their pension funds for the purchase of a home? Explain your answer, yes or no. And what are your thoughts on the former finance minister Dickinson going against his party? What are your thoughts? We've got Suzanne Ingham says, I like that Mr. Dickinson has taken a stand. Michelle White says, teach a man / a woman how to fish. They don't realize the monthly income impact when they reach retirement when they really need it. Indeed, I don't disagree. Karen Simmons says, if you are unable to pay the down payment for buying a home, how will you afford the monthly mortgage payments after? Right? I agree. This will affect the retirement later. I concur. David Michael Wilson said, because if things come crashing down, the funds are gone and there's no way to recoup, leaving a further deficit. I get it. Michael Daniel says, what is the criteria for taking advantage of this program? Go read it. Go check it out. Sean Smith says there's a difference between buying a house and the ability to afford it when you retire. Indeed. These are all absolutely valid comments and questions. Shamari Sky says, yes, because the hardest part of home ownership is the down payment. I feel most can afford to mortgage because it's usually the same as rent. I'm not quite sure. It's the hardest part because there have been a lot of people who have lost homes because of their mortgage. Here's the thing. Your job or career is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. I think that's what we have to really consider here, right? I think that's what we need to consider. I take your point, though. I take your point. What else, audience? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on former Finance Minister Dickinson going against his party? What are your thoughts on former Finance Minister Dickinson going against his party? I don't know, Shamari Sky. I think the idea that, a crash can happen. I would rather my pension lose value for a year or so than losing my house and a huge investment I made. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand pension or finances, but I would rather lose value on my pension than to lose a house that I've made a huge down payment on. But that's just me. Suzanne Ingham says, I personally think it's a setup. It's a political move, in my opinion. Something doesn't seem right. It's my opinion. I get it. It seems popular. Let's go on to Instagram. Mia Chambray says, however, how are young Bermudians supposed to get on the property ladder? Consider home ownership as a pension plan. Well, it depends, because I think, I've said it on this show before. We grew up believing that owning a home was an asset. We're finally in a space where we understand that it's not an asset. A home is only an asset if you're making money off of that home. A home where you're not making money off of it is a liability, because a liability, I'm no accounting expert, but I did a few classes in finance and accounting classes through my business and MBA. But an asset is something you make money off, right? A liability is something you put money into. It costs you, right? That's layman. It's like a boat. For years, people, I have a car, I have a boat. They're not assets. We've been made to believe they are. But unless you're using that boat to make money or using that car to make money, it's a liability, folks. It's a liability. So we have to correct our minds and understand that a home is not an asset. Yes, home ownership sounds great, but I go back to what I said at the beginning. It's not for everyone. Everyone's not going to own a home. That's the reality. It sounds good. We want to, but ask some young people who have recently sold their homes. The idea is that, you always have somewhere to stay. Will you? Ask those folks from 2007, 2008. I don't think we're real about it. Owning a home is career dependent if you're just buying one. It is. Jackie Eve says, no, I see in-person struggle because they are not educated on payments. Consequences of non-payment resulting in foreclosure. The down payment, pension money gone. Agree with Dickinson. I get you. I get you. But again, there are a lot of people who don't live to their pension age. So it's a tough one. Suzanne Ingham says, I agree, Jamal. I'd rather lose some pension than my house. Michael Daniels says, so rent is a liability? You don't own rent. That's okay. That makes no sense. You don't own the house for it to be a liability. Rent is a bill, like paying an electricity bill. It's like paying cable or internet or your telephone bill. That makes no sense. It's not comparable. You don't own at that point. I know what you're trying to, but it didn't work, Michael Daniels. David Michael Wilson says, people jump ship all the time. It's just a matter of whether they can swim afterwards. CD has proven he can swim. So his jumping ship, switching sides, seems to be in the best interest. I don't think he necessarily switched sides. He just let his conscience lead him in this space. Renee Simmons says, well, if a high percentage of people do decide to take their pension, I assume the private one, then others will certainly follow because they will want to get their share as it may be nothing left. Well, some people feel like there's nothing left now, right? But I see your point. Ian Waddington says asset for asset was how it was presented. Not true and way out of line. Ian, politics aside, that's what I'm hoping people see through. That's what I'm hoping people see through. They're not the same. They're not the same. They were presented as this if they're the same. But again, folks, I'm no financial expert. I am no pension expert. I just sat in some classes in a school. I read a couple books, but I am definitely no expert at this. So I'm not offering advice. I'm just sharing my perspective based on what I read that was presented and based on my own understanding. Shamari Sky says it's hard to save up for a down payment whilst also paying rent. I was taught that everyone pays a mortgage. You either pay for your own or your landlord's. Again, that's what we were sold. Again, going back to the American dream, right? That's what we were sold. And I agree that sometimes mortgages are way cheaper than rents. And I always found it interesting that banks will give you, you can prove you can pay rent. Well, you should be able to get a loan to pay a mortgage. I understand everything you're saying, but go back to what I said earlier. Home ownership is not for everyone. It's not. Again, there are people working in exempt companies who can easily buy homes without the stress that blue-collar workers can. I don't want to see people putting themselves in very bad situations, and if they're blessed, lucky, or honored to live long enough, are in a hole. But you know what? It's like entrepreneurship. It's risky. Nicole Hassel says, I'm a proud renter. I will never buy a home in Bermuda. And I get it. Maybe you're not in that space where you think it makes sense. The idea of home ownership has us acting like it's this heroic thing. If you can afford it, go for it. But don't, let me be very clear. I'm going to bring Maya in a bit, then we've got Lieutenant Cire Bean in. The belittlement of people who don't own homes has got to stop. There are a lot of struggling people with no guarantee. This is life. There's absolutely none anyway. The idea that home ownership makes us any better than people who don't have anything, it's got to stop. It's no different from materialism, like having the best clothes and this and that. Folks, we've got to understand better. People are purchasing homes, don't even understand how mortgage rates work. You just want to own a piece of the rock. You've got a fancy, nice check talking real estate agent and broker. The bank, they're taking it home that, we're going to make this amount off of this person. We've got to do better. The American dream is not a dream to everyone. The American dream is written on debt. And the Bermudian dream will be nothing short. The difference is there are more opportunities to get yourself out of debt in the U.S. than there are Bermuda. I know land is scarce in Bermuda. The best way I can tell people, and this is if you have a functional family, because dysfunctional families will lead you elsewhere. But if you have a close-knit family, the people that you can trust or friends that you can buy properties with, that's the best way to do it. But I wouldn't, I'm not giving advice, but myself, I probably, if I didn't have an exempt company job, IB job, banking job, a high-paying job or career where I can take that risk, I probably wouldn't do it. Sean Smith says, unlike government workers who have a defined plan, the private sector has a contribution plan, meaning the private sector gets out of it what you put into it. Charles H. Jefferson II says, I would love to hear some stats around this. How many people is this projected to help? There was a consistent reference to Singapore, but Singapore has virtually less national debt per capita, correct? Michelle White says, where's our economist, Craig Simmons? Help make this make sense. Thank you for saying that. We're going to get him in on this. Thank you for saying that. Mortgage repayment is not the only expense to homeowners. Lydia Simmons says, not everyone is an exempt company are in that position. Indeed, they're not. I agree with that. What I'm saying is they're more likely to be in that position than a blue collar. Misha Fabler says, yes, some countries have high proportions of renters, e.g. Germany has 53% of their population renting. All right, let's bring Maya Palacio and Fidelia, our news break. We've got Lieutenant Cire Bean coming up. Again, this entire week, we'll have the candidates for Constituency 36 on to discuss the upcoming by-election this week. Stick with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, MP. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well.
Yeah. I just want to read this comment. Tony Bridgewater says, for persons who wish to earn their own home, I believe this new opportunity is a good thing. My only caveat would be capping the age limit so that the purchaser has the opportunity to put some of it back. We really need more finance people and pension experts and to really weigh in on this. I'm hopeful that we can get a statement from the Honorable Curtis Dickinson, but also an independent person like Craig Simmons who has no political ties, because I say all the time, Maya, that doing this show, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, but I want to make people think. And the reality is it took me a long time to understand that home ownership is not for everyone, right? To live a life in debt and paying interest. And we've crapped on people who rent. We've crapped on them. Maya, you may not like this. A lot of people may not like this. But capitalism is not built for single Maya Palacio. It's not built for a single Jamal Hartman. It's built for the family. It's built for the two-income household. That's step one. Step number two, it's literally based on debt. For the companies to exist, we have to live in debt. That's how they make their money. I don't think there's anything great about that. But because it's been normal for so long, we crap on people who don't own. We act like we live on a pedestal when we do own, even though the bank owns you. Maya, I'm done. What you got today?
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour Newsweek brought to you by the great people at People's Pharmacy. Starting out your news this morning, yes, there was a vehicle collision that happened over the weekend. A 45-year-old Warwick woman was transported to the hospital for treatment after a two-vehicle collision. Now, this happened around 2:20 p.m. on Sunday, the 29th of September, when police officers responded to a report of the collision in Warwick. And what happened is, what's understood is that a car and a motorcycle near Dow's Wolf, resulting in the woman rider being hurt. Now, the extent of her injuries is still unknown at this time. There's no update on it, but they still are asking for anyone who witnessed the collision to call 211.
Was that on Harbor Road, you said?
Dow's Wharf. So, yeah, around the area.
Okay. Okay.
Now, as we were talking this morning, I'm going to give a little bit of detail after we hear this video of Curtis Dickinson and what he's saying, but just some more about what that actually includes in this section in the amendment that they've made. But yes, former Minister of Finance Curtis Dickinson voted against the National Pension Scheme Amendment Act of 2024, saying the homeowners regulation is allowed for should not be permitted. But the legislation was approved after objections anyway, and the regulation was tabled last week by Joshay Adams, who is the newly appointed Junior Minister of Finance. So let's hear in as to why Curtis Dickinson doesn't really approve for it and what he is actually encouraging Bermudians to do instead of doing exactly what has been mentioned.
I don't know the size of Bermuda's pension gap, but I do know that our contributory pension fund, our public service superannuation fund, our ministers, members of the legislature fund are all underfunded, and by a significant amount. And absent long past due reforms in these plans, the obligation of making up for those increasing shortfalls could fall on the government and ultimately the taxpayer. I also know that defined contribution plans became more prevalent in the United States in the 1970s. And Bermuda's own defined contribution legislation became operable in 2000, early 2000s. So the United States has an estimated 25-year head start on us with respect to these types of plans. And they have $1 trillion pension gap. Accepting that we have a smaller population, our pension gap in absolute terms will be much smaller. But what does much smaller mean? I don't know at this moment, and would rather not speculate. I would suggest that the Ministry of Finance, the Pension Commission, and pension fund administrators work to identify strategies to figure out the size of the gap and strategies to close it. I also unequivocally take the view that we can ill afford to be engaging in policy decisions that are designed to allow individuals to reduce their pension balances before their retirement ages. Instead, we should be doing more to strongly encourage them to contribute more.
I appreciate what he's saying. And here's the thing. I think he's not coming across political. I think he's coming across as a finance person. The challenge with that, Mr. Dickinson, is that a lot of people don't understand finances, and it's, especially it has to be communicated and engaged in layman. Furthermore, in politics, things like this are championed by those who are trying to push it onto the people, which is why most people will probably think this is a good thing, even though it's probably electioneering. I would ask the audience to watch closely and to read as much as they can understand, but also seek, information from their pension advisor. Call Friesenbrook and speak to the experts and ask them about this, but then also maybe speak to a banker, a broker, and just ask them their honest opinions. Weigh the pros and cons for yourself. If you believe it's best for you, go for it.
It's interesting you brought up Friesenbrook, because what I was going to add is that when Carl Smith was actually on the show, and he talked a lot about compound investing and doing that with your pensions. And also Curtis Dickinson spoke on that as well in the House. You could watch the full thing. I encourage anyone. I think Bernie News actually has it up. It's about 20 minutes, or listen to it. And yes, he also talked about as well about compounding and how you lose out on that benefit when you decide to take things out. Mm-hmm. And again, he also spoke on how someone told him that, financial literacy is nothing that Bermudians will ever need. And he strongly disagrees with that point when it was made back then. And today, again, it's something that we are lacking. And I think often on this show, when we talk about what we are taught in school and what we are not taught in school, I think we mentioned a lot like financial literacy. Like, we don't know much about what happens with our pensions, what we should be investing in, or even where things go, health insurance, where that goes, or how beneficial it can be and what we can use for it. We don't know. Paying taxes, we don't know if you have a business, So these are the things that, we lack in the education system as well. When we come out of it, we're still trying to figure out next.
Many years ago, I did a summer job at Elbow Beach, and it was a gentleman there, and I forget his name, but he said that many young people like myself will be told to purchase a home. He said, I would actually encourage you to start a business first. It was very interesting for him to say that, but I can say 21 years later, I completely understand why he said that. And I hope the audience can really digest it. Ask yourself, what would benefit you more? Starting a business, investing in the stock market, mutual funds, or buying a home? That's where the value is going to be for you. And everyone's answer will be different based on our financial situation and place.
Well, closing out that story, just want to add, because someone asked the question in the audience, what's the cap on it? This is coming from the amendment scheme itself. I'm just going to read the following new paragraph: of a lump sum of up to 30% of the account balance of a member or former member of a defined contribution pension plan or a local retirement, as tabled in the House. So basically, that person of the act where such member is under the age of 45 years old can take up to 30% out, versus a person who is between the ages of 45 to 65 years old can take up to 15% of the account balance of the member.
All right.
Those are some added little insights there.
Thanks.
Okay, so in other news, let's talk about education. As Minister Cire Bean actually went up and said some updates about it. Here's something that you should probably know and be aware of. We're going to listen to this first one here, and then he actually talks about what they're trying to do to help reduce some financial strain on the community. Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, September 2025 also marks a milestone when senior schooling becomes a 5-year program. This will coincide with the final cohort of current 4-year senior school program students. As a result, in September 2025, both Year 8/M2 and M3 students will transition to senior school. In the coming weeks, meetings will be held between parents and school counselors to help students and families make informed senior school decisions.
No comment.
So then he goes on to share a little bit about, some finances. Let's go.
Mr. Speaker, starting this year, as part of our education reform process, students transitioning into senior school will receive uniform vouchers. This year, the initiative is specifically designed to support the double cohort of students affected by this transition, providing $100 uniform vouchers to parents when they attend the senior school counseling sessions. Uniform vouchers will also be made available for students transitioning from primary schools when they close. Mr. Speaker, in March, I announced the closure of Prospect Primary School and Gilbert Institute at the end of this academic year. The transitions for both schools continue to be handled with care by their respective principals. I committed to providing further updates during Term 1, and we will meet that deadline. Invitations will be...
Interesting.
He also said that there's going to be a ton of meetings, and as you listened in just now, you have to go to these counseling sessions in order to get those vouchers as well. So that's something that any parent or guardian out there needs to know if you wish to have these vouchers.
Gotcha.
Now, closing up with some more exciting news that's forthcoming. The City of Hamilton is still to host the 2024 City Christmas Boat Parade. Is going to be taking place on December the 7th. That's a Saturday, 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the #1 car park, a highlight of the holiday season. And obviously this event, if you're a fan of all the Christmas celebrations, if you celebrate, this is probably one to look out for to go ahead and enjoy with the family. So again, that's going to be on December the 7th. And they're still accepting boat parade application forms. You can find them on the City of Hamilton website.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. I love that. Since it started back in the 90s, I've loved it. One of the most beautiful times to see the Hamilton Harbor. So looking forward to it.
I agree.
No, I may miss it actually.
Yeah. You might miss it. I don't know. I might come back for it. This is one of my favorite times of the year. All right, so closing out with on sports. Unfortunately, our Bermuda women's field hockey team couldn't really clinch that third place from the podium, but they did get the fourth place finish in their game that they fell to Guyana 2-1 in their last match. So upsetting for the team as they actually scored. They opened up the scoring in the beginning, but then Guyana came back and defeated them 2-1 at the end of it. And Paraguay took that second place, and Mexico, who were favorites to win, got that first place gold, and they'll be heading on toward the Field Hockey World Cup.
All the best going forward, ladies. All the best going forward.
Indeed. So today's weather's looking like a little bit of clouds over with a few showers around. So not much sun. Might get a break or two of it, and we got a high of 82 degrees.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Maya. Today, the days of the year, it's International Podcast Day. International Podcast Day. Now, many of you don't know, but podcasting is not really that old. You know, podcasts pretty much first mentioned the term was first mentioned by Ben Hammersley in 2004, and the first podcast provider was Libsyn, launched later that year. I literally hate when people refer to the Daily Hour as a podcast. We're not a podcast, but we call anything online a podcast. A podcast is literally a file, folks, of audio, but now we think anything online is a podcast. We are a talk show, but it is International Podcast Day, so you can say that if we ask the question, what's your favorite podcast, Maya? So audience, what's your favorite podcast? Let us know. Or do you have a favorite podcast? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you watch podcasts? Do you have one, Maya?
I do. I have a favorite podcast, and it's called Horrible Decisions, and it's 18 plus for anyone that wants to tap in to listen to that. But basically, they talk all things that have to do about, you know, sexuality, health, and, you know, different type, all across the spectrum. And it's so informative because I bring in a ton of different guests who, like, I think the last one I listened to was a dating coach, actually. And they had a lot to say about especially Black women dating, because it's a primarily Black podcast as well. So like the hosts, everyone, like they try to bring on all Black hosts all the time. So that's what they were discussing, and it was quite
decisions. Okay, I love it. I'm gonna have to check out her. I actually don't listen to podcasts. I know that's weird. I listen to talk shows and stuff and like sports related stuff, but never really been because I like to engage with stuff. Never gotten into any podcast in particular. All right, let's Maya, thank you so much for that. We've got Cire Bean coming up, Lieutenant Cire Bean, or as I stated, we have all of the candidates coming up this week. MP, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right, thanks so much. Maya Palacio, folks, if you appreciated the conversation so far, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back after this break and get it going with Lieutenant Cire Bean.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Unlock your business potential with BDC's General Microloan, offering up to $30,000 for Bermudian small and medium businesses. Whether it's for inventory, working capital, or equipment, we provide 100% guarantee on approved loans. Simple application, low interest rates, and fast processing. Apply today and make your business dream come true.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazok Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us go beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our guests for the day. As stated, we will have all 4 candidates for Constituency 36 on this week. And we are going to be starting with Lieutenant Cire Bean, who is challenging for that constituency as an independent. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you making out?
Well, I'm okay. I mean, welcome back. Last time we had you, you were talking about something very different. And this time we're talking about politics. Yeah. So first off, before we even get into today's conversation and yourself, I mentioned that today is International Podcasters Day. Are you a big podcast guy or not?
You know, I'm a big information guy, so whatever's on at the time, I end up tuning in. But I do like documentaries more so.
Okay.
And so I don't really have a podcast that I truly watch. Well, you know, hey, on off chance, I may get some flack for this, but Joe Rogan every now and again, he has some interesting guests.
A lot of people watch him. Look, man, I remember back in the day, I was doing some media classes, and it was a thing. They were following Bill O'Reilly, and I started watching Bill O'Reilly, and people were like, "You watch him?" Like, yeah, it's fascinating when you watch people who are interesting, entertaining, but also I don't have to agree with people to watch and be into it. Sometimes that's the best way to learn. I want to understand people, right? And why they think that way and so on. So no, it's nothing wrong with who you choose to give your time to. But thank you so much for coming. As stated, you're the first of the 4 candidates that will be on. But before we jump into the actual political part of it, just give the audience a bit about your background and who you are.
Well, you know, once again, thank you for having me. I deeply, deeply appreciate it, and I don't take it lightly. My name is Cire Bean. I'm an independent candidate for Constituency 36. At 17, I founded an organization called Pay a Care, where we provide jobs and community service hours, as well as vocational training for the youth of Bermuda, ages 13 to 18, to get them out of antisocial behavior, gang activity, and crime. Also a former Bermuda Regiment officer, graduated of Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, and also Brecon Battle School, and former honorary aide to camp to Her Excellency the Governor. So, you know, I just believe about all in community engagement, born and raised in Somerset and Burrs Island area, and, you know, just all in all, a proud Bermudian.
All righty. That's a lot. That's a lot. And based on that information, I think what many would consider a very good candidate. I'm not going to say young candidate because I don't want to demean anyone based on their age or gender as we speak with each of you. But sorry, you know, you have all that going on. You've achieved a lot at your age. Why'd you decide to throw your hat in the political ring?
You know, it's funny. There are many reasons, but the main reasons are, so I do a lot of panel discussions. I'm very involved, very engaged with things that are going on in the community. There's a lot of great stuff that Bermuda Youth Connect is taking on board as well. And now when we're at all these panel discussions, the main part is that we need young representation. We need young voices in this process. And as I'm looking around, I'm thinking like, and then everyone's looking at me and saying, well, you are technically a young voice, so you might, so why not step up and do what I am suggesting others to do and lead from the front in that matter?
Got you. And okay, deciding to throw your hat in is one thing, right? But why as an independent versus joining an existing political party?
Well, it's definitely a few reasons, but I just want to state I have no disrespect, no ill malice to any of the current parties that we have on island. But what I've recognized, and being a product, especially in this by-election, being a product of Constituency 36, growing up there my whole life, I realized that there's a lot of back and forth that is going on in between our parties, and us as the people, us as the constituents in the meantime are getting neglected and also left out of the process. So I just want to run as an independent because I feel it adds more volume to the constituency's voice. And in that way, they have a clear, straightforward representative and voice in the House that is solely for them. And that is why I'm doing it. I believe that it's just, to be transparent, accessible, and more engaging and not just following party lines.
Got you. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Lieutenant Bean, please send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. Again, he's the first of all 4 candidates that we are going to be having on the show this week as the by-election takes place on Friday, October 4th. Jumping right back in, what concerns are you hearing on doorstep from the constituents in the area? Like, what are their top concerns right now?
So I said this before, but the top concerns that we are facing, and it's funny because normally I thought I was going to get the response of, please don't come to my door. But as long as they see me walking in on the street, they are calling out to me, inviting me over, saying, I must talk with you. I need to speak with you. But the concerns that the Constituency 36 have been facing is practically just the neglect, the lack of accessibility to the government representatives, the MPs. And it's just like, okay, well, how about we mend that through engagement? And not only that, they just feel that they want to be a part of the process. They're tired of going to sleep, waking up, a new policy is in place, a new law is in place. They had nothing to do with it, no say about it, and they're sick and tired of that. They want to be included. They want to be involved with the process, and they are tired of being neglected. So I haven't gotten any concerns on the doorstep that pertains to a lot of more national level issues, but it's just like, okay, well, will you at least be seen? Will you at least bring my voice to the table? So that's the concerns that I've been getting at the doorstep. And engagement and community events for the youth that are going around idle right now with nothing to do.
Got you. Okay. What difference do you really think you can make as an independent in the House? I mean, that you heard these conversations in various circles, like, oh, he won't be able to, and not just you, but we had independent Sir John run in May, and people have these concerns, like what difference can they make? What difference do you think that you can bring and make in the House of Assembly as an independent?
Well, I feel it goes in phases. The difference, for one, is successful in this upcoming by-election. The difference that I will make is invoke change and invoke belief that people can run as independents and become successful and be a true representation of the people's voice. So when it comes to what difference can I make, or really what power does one voice have, the people need to recognize and understand, because I feel it's been forgotten, about the power in their voice and their vote. So being an independent, yes, I am independent sitting in the House, but they must remember that I am their voice. So I'm simply one individual who is adding volume to my constituency's voice. So I'm not there to serve the party. I'm there to serve my constituency as a whole. So in that sense, it just shows that the difference would be, I don't have to tiptoe around the borderlines or nothing like that. I can be blunt, be assertive, and say what needs to be said, and not end up fearing the blackballed, getting blackballed, or being underneath of an umbrella of a particular party. I'm solely there to represent the people. I believe that if they recognize there is a fighter in there for them, then it can create a domino effect of other individuals coming up to do the same.
Gotcha. All right. No independent, to my knowledge, no independent candidate has been successful in an election since 1989, which I believe was Stuart Hayward.
Yes.
And that was before the one man, one vote, right? Why do you believe you can change that and make history this time around?
I believe it because the temperature has changed. People used to be very standoffish at the idea, but the more I'm getting now, I've literally been on hundreds of doorsteps, hundreds, and everybody is buying into the fact of this could work. This is a possibility. I want change. You don't get a different result by doing the same thing over and over and over again. You must pivot. You must change the mindset a bit and try and achieve a different result. But I think at the end of the day, individuals are fed up in the community and they are looking for a light at the end of the tunnel. So everybody is very much so encouraging with what I'm trying to do right now. And also, I just think what will make the difference, I guess, it's all in the individual. And I've given up my commission. I've sacrificed my commission in order to pursue this. I want everyone to know that I am full in, and I'm not just here to, half roll this out. So they understand that they have a fighter in their corner. And I believe that just with my proven, track record of whatever I've done, that I will continue to do this way and lead this way. I'm not just here popping up out of the blue and saying that, hey, I'm going to make a change. I've proven that I am able and capable and willing to do so and go the full mile.
All right, audience, if you have any questions or comments for Lieutenant Cire Bean, please give us, share. I will get through any comments and questions. I see that Michael Daniels, you said he answered my question. Yes, he's answered your question. Suzanne Ingham says, yes, serve and represent the people. It's not about the party. Again, if you have any questions or comments, send them through. We're going to address the elephant in the room. The One Bermuda Alliance has been very vocal about the venue. What are your thoughts on the venue for the by-election being the home church of your opponent and the PLP candidate, Reverend Emily Gildeal?
So, I'm just entering into the space. I've been now involved in the political realm for about 4 weeks. So all of this is still relatively new to me in that sense. But when it comes to the location, I feel personally, I have no dramas personally with it. But on the doorstep, I have gotten a lot of questions pertaining to why is it being held there? Why not at St. James? Why not at Somerset Primary and things like that? Now, what I did realize is that I, as a candidate, do not have any say in where it is held. That is powers above me. But I just feel that, I hate to I'm a very optimistic person. I believe whatever's meant to be will be. So no matter what the location is, if the people are, fed up enough or engaged enough, then they will come out to vote no matter where it is. If it's on a mountaintop, if it's in the middle of the ocean, they will find their way. But I do understand that, and I can see that there's some conflict in the location. But here we go again. I'm not one to be in a dogfighting match amongst the parties and pointing fingers. I don't do any of that. I do not plan on doing any of that. But I do understand that it is a hot topic right now, especially on the doorstep.
Okay. You've mentioned a couple times that, being an independent means that it gives you more power to represent the people and not the political party. This morning we were discussing the former finance minister, the Honorable Curtis Dickinson, going against his party, which people have encouraged him to do since his resignation. He went against his party regarding the pension, the government allowing first-time buyers to free up their pension funds for the purchase of a home. What are your thoughts on that proposal? And I believe it was passed by the government.
So I do have a few thoughts on that. One, I would just say Mr. Dickinson is an extremely intelligent individual. I believe that if he is going against something, he obviously has valid reasons of why. I do understand. I appreciate the fact that he is looking at the more long-term aspect of all of this, because, you know, it's looking at the bigger picture. And as you mentioned earlier, in regards to buying a house, starting a business, I do also agree that there needs to be more financial literacy that is given to the youth, so they understand truly what they are walking into. Because once you take on that, as you mentioned, becoming a liability rather than an asset, if you do have any ways to rent it out or earn money from it, it is a big task. And so I believe that Curtis Dickinson's points are extremely valid. And I think that that needs to be discussed more, and we need to pay more attention to this and get the education on financial literacy.
All righty. Renee Webb's asking, are you the only independent candidate who will be running in the next election to your knowledge? Next election or this by-election?
Oh, well, it's closed now for this by-election, but I take it this is probably the next general election that is coming up. So what I would say is, believe it or not, I've been getting calls every single day. When I'm stopping in the streets of homes, people are calling me saying, hey, I love this movement. I love what is going on. My cousin was calling me. They want to run as an independent in their constituency. So it is growing. People are coming out to me saying that they are inspired. They want to run. They want to come out during the next general election. So I think that we would be surprised at how many individuals truly step forward to represent their constituency as independents. Because I know personally, it's quite a few have now been interested.
All right. Renee Simmons is asking, as an independent, will you meet with other independents on various issues, or are you completely independent? Because there have been talks that, oh, this is an independent movement, which in itself makes it seem like a political party. So can you clarify?
Well, I say to be smart and to be strategic and have the best options available, I feel that conversation with any individual who has the foresight to give any information is the right way to go. For example, not just any independent members, but you have very intellectual people, intelligent people from the PLP, OBA, the FDM. Why not seek information where information can be given and guidance can be given? So I believe we need to get across and get over the bridge of just not hearing out an idea from the individual because they're from a different party. And that's where Bermuda gets nowhere. We are sick and tired of doing that. We must go firm. We must seek the knowledge. So with that being said, yes, I seek knowledge. I will meet with whoever can provide and whoever is willing to give information that will better our country, no matter where you come from, what political party. I have 2 ears to listen, 1 mouth, and you know that saying goes.
Yeah, indeed. If you're not successful in this upcoming by-election, what next? Are we gonna still prepare and canvass and be the man in the community leading up to the next general election, which will be held within the next year or so?
110%, 110%. I'm not in here to just chuck my head in the ring and when it gets dirty, don't put it back on. I'm here to stay around, be involved in the community. I just think the benefit of this is that now it's getting more exposure to what I've been trying to do since I was 17 for the community. So I plan on being closely knit together with the community going forward, no matter what the result is.
All righty. What would you say to not only those going to the polls on Friday, because as it's been proven historically, by-elections attract less people than a general election. What would you say to those who may feel like, look, my vote isn't going to matter? I don't care. I'm not going. It's the same old. The PLP is going to win. What advice would you give them?
I would give them the advice of get out there, go and vote. Nothing of great change comes about if you sit on the couch, complain, do nothing, and just think that your vote does not matter. It matters 100%. You have the power as an individual to sway the whole course and trajectory of this country. So when it comes to the by-election, especially this by-election, you must feel encouraged to get out there and vote. because you cannot just simply complain and say, wow, why is this happening to me? Because if you're not a part of the solution, then you are a part of the problem. So we must recognize that as individuals, and we must take some ownership into this current state of affairs right now that we are dealing with. Get out there, feel empowered, feel encouraged to vote, because if you do not, then the same situations that you are facing right now would just get larger, get worse. You must feel empowered to vote. Your vote definitely counts.
All right, final question. You have 3 other people vying for this seat. Tell the people of Constituency 36 why you're the best candidate to serve them in the House of Assembly.
So this is that's an interesting question, because I can feel that I'm a great candidate. I believe that I know for a fact that I will give it my all. I would put 110% of effort in and engagement to my constituency. And again, I understand, the youthfulness, but I seek all the answers. That's one thing in the military that we learned, is that you may not know all the answers, but you better find them out. So it's that aspect of being able to truly listen, connect with the community, engage with the community, and be there for them. I grew up from in that community, Burrs Island, 6 Seawall Drive. That's me. And so I'm a clear representation of that community. So I believe that all the other candidates are great, fantastic individuals. Anybody who is willing to put their head in the ring, to be vulnerable, to be exposed to all of the public comments, and to try and do better for the country is amazing. But I just know for a fact, I can't speak for the others, but I know for a fact that I will put 110% into firmly representing my constituency, serving my people, for the people, of the people, and not a party.
Cire Bean, I thank you for making time, coming on and engaging.
Thanks for having me. Apologies again for all the delay, Canvas.
No worries. We wanted to make sure everyone had an opportunity, and I wish you all the best. And regardless of the result, I think I speak for many Bermudians when I say it's encouraging to have someone like yourself in the community who is engaged and so focused on being involved to ensure that Bermuda is better for all who live there. All right. So thank you so much. All the best, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You as well. Lieutenant Cire Bean, folks, if you appreciated that conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and we'll wrap it up. I'll give my final thoughts. We'll do a daily play, and someone in the audience is going to get lucky because they'll get this question right and be entered into this week's draw. Stick with us.
Did you know 3 out of 4 people say that they have a good understanding of life insurance? But do they really? When asked how much the yearly cost would be for a 20-year, $250,000 level term life insurance policy for a healthy 30-year-old, 80% overestimated the cost by 5 times the amount. Ready for this? The true cost for that policy is about $220 a year. That's as little as 66 cents a day, or $20 a month. So let's put this into perspective. Compared to other monthly costs, isn't getting life insurance a no-brainer? If you can trim back on some of these expenses just a little bit, it will allow you to dedicate the savings toward an affordable life insurance policy. Contact one of our life insurance agents today to find the right policy for you.
Take a look at our workbook for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Welcome back. Thanks again to Lieutenant Cire Bean. Look, man, he gives me hope. I'm going to be real with you. He gives me hope. And congratulations to him on putting his head in the ring. All the best to him as he goes into this by-election. Again, thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medicals, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can do this with you on a regular basis. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? Here we go. It's a Who Said It. First person who gets this correct on my screen will be entered into this week's draw. Quote, after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. End quote. Who said it? No one got it. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll give it to Sheikah Rayner. Sheikah Rayner, you'll enter the draw. She said Nelson Mandela showed up on my screen first. So let's get your name in there, Sheikah Rayner. Sheikah Rayner. Sheikah, you are in there. Selena also got it. Suzanne says Jamal Hartman. I just heard him say it. I love that. All right, folks. We got to get out of here, but I just want to wrap it up, say this much about the by-election. Look, you all know how I feel about politics. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to say things that are going to make people feel good. I may do things that benefit them. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. You've got to have thick skin to get involved. At such a young age, I really do wish Lieutenant Cire Bean all the best. There are a lot of things that concern people, and I think he addresses some of those concerns of not being held down by a political party, being able to 100% represent the people and not the political party. I think that's lost on people. So I do wish him the best. He has an uphill battle. As far as I can remember, correct me if I'm wrong, during the one man, one vote era, which began in 2003, I don't think an independent candidate has been successful. But a quote attributed to former South African President Nelson Mandela, it's only impossible until it's done, right? So I wish him the best. As far as the discussion regarding pension and rent, and home ownership, I think everyone's situation is going to be different. I would tell people, speak with experts, speak with people who can help them, not people who are working for their best interests. A realtor wants to sell you that house. They want to make a commission. A broker, a bank, they want to make money off you. But you've got to figure out short and long term what is going to be in your best interest. That's the reality. Some people are going to be in better financial situations, but you have to weigh the pros and cons. Again, for me, I see more value in owning a business than a house. Does that mean I don't value home ownership? No, it doesn't. But ask yourself, why? Why indebt people with academic debt, home ownership debt, but not business debt? Which one are you more likely to make an asset? Ask yourself those questions. Not giving advice because everyone's situation is different. But I encourage people to speak with experts before they just go along with what a government whose number one job is to be reelected is trying to sell you at the corner store. All right. Daily inspiration is going to be that same quote by Nelson Mandela. After climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. Nelson Mandela. And folks, do not forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medicals, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.